All right, Charlie Burris, Zach Reagan, welcome into the A to Z Sports Big Orange Podcast, wherever you listen throughout the world. Thank you very much for listening to us. We talk everything Vols every week here on the Big Orange Podcast. If you want to listen to it on the reg, go over to the A to Z Sports Podcast Network feed on Apple or Spotify. When you get there, rate, review, but you got to subscribe. And if you do subscribe, you won't miss our shows when we drop them on Mondays. Speaking of Mondays, it is on right now at 5 p.m. Eastern time. That means that we are live on YouTube, A to Z Sports Tennessee Volunteers YouTube channel. Go there, subscribe button, notification bell. If you're watching right now, hit the like button. We appreciate it. But if you hit that notification bell, you'll be notified when we go live, and you can come hang out with us and comment, be a part of the show. It's always a great time. We love going back and forth with everybody. So tune in there at Charlie_, at Zach TNT, at Dizzy Sports, Facebook.com/A2Z Sports Nashville, and A2ZSports.com for all the stuff that Zach writes on the internet. And boy, there was plenty to write about this weekend because Tennessee went to Starkville, Mississippi. And Zach, when I tell you the level of anxiety that I was feeling on Saturday night of just this dread. Obviously, I do the post-game show with myself, Jonathan Crompton, former Vols quarterback. We do halftime post-game here on the Z Sports Tennessee Volunteers YouTube channel. And I was just thinking, oh my gosh, this is going to suck so bad to have to talk about. It was going to be a post-game show, and then it was going to be here. And I was just like, please don't do this to me. Please don't do this to me. And they didn't. They ended up winning somehow, some way. But what's up, Zach?
Yeah, what a wild game. There's a lot to dive into, but I was the exact same way. I mean, you go through. We've seen this game play out a bunch for Tennessee over the last 10, 15 years, obviously, and I'd already accepted defeat, not because I didn't think Tennessee could come back and win. It had nothing to do with the players on the field and anything like that. It's just like, well, this is what typically happens for Tennessee. It happened against Arkansas, South Carolina, Missouri. Recent years, I mean, we've seen it countless times, but they got the job done when it mattered and came out on top, and thank goodness they did, because that loss, if they would have lost that game, it alters the entire season. So thankfully we do not have to talk about any of those scenarios or what Tennessee would have to do to run the table to get into the playoff later this year, which honestly, I think we're in for a really crazy October and November, just based on what we've seen in September in this sport and the parity that's in the sport right now. Some of the results of these games I don't think mean a whole lot. I'm not taking a lot away from Tennessee losing to Georgia or Alabama beating Georgia, or a lot of these results I think could easily be flip-flopped if some of these teams play again in a couple of months.
Absolutely. It's going to be a wild ride through October. I mean, for Tennessee, if you don't step on landmines, that Alabama game is going to be so massive. That could be a decider to get, at least for Tennessee, one of two deciders to get you to the SEC championship game, the other being at Florida. I don't want to think about right now. But this one was about as ugly as it could get for Tennessee, just handing everything to Mississippi State. We're going to talk through the whole thing. The main thrust of this episode that I made the title on YouTube is Tennessee actually overrated? Because, you saw some people say, oh, you almost lost to Mississippi State. Tennessee actually stinks. Is that really the case? Because I will say, Joey Aguilar not as crisp in that game, although he was hero and had an incredible drive that type game, and he's an absolute dude. But still, there was that wide receivers, as Mr. Jones is saying, not Braylon Staley's finest day, not Miles Kitzelman's finest day, definitely not the finest day for the defense overall. Edge rushers had a fine day, but everybody else, And so we'll talk about, was Tennessee overrated in light of that, and where do you go from here? Arkansas on the horizon with Bobby Petrino back in the driver's seat for the Razorbacks after the nicest dude in coaching, Sam Pittman, gets fired. And we'll talk about all of that, but we'll start out here, this Mississippi State game in Starkville, just kind of go front to back. You start out the game and kind of from the jump, I actually said I hate that I was sort of correct in my assessment, my pregame assessment. Mississippi State came out strong in this game, and they kind of punched you in the mouth. It was a lot of environment, and they sort of stuck it to. They scored a touchdown. You only had a field goal, and suddenly you're kind of on your back, on your heels, and Tennessee get it tied by halftime, but there was just this string of things where you were just we were all texting each other, putting it on Twitter. I mean, this was all over. There are people calling for Josh Heupel's job. I mean, if you saw this on Twitter, that's complete insanity. I don't know who the people are. Not calling for Josh Heupel's job, but I will say this had every single marker there could possibly be for the old Josh Heupel stinker on the road. It hit every single note, except for the final one where you actually won. But watching this one starting out, Zach, how are you feeling?
Yeah, that they start out. Mississippi State wins the toss and decides to take the ball, which I thought was smart because I think we talked about this a little bit, that if Tennessee got the ball first and scored quickly like they did against Georgia, you could take some of the air out of that stadium. And Mississippi State gets the ball first, and it starts out well actually because you forced a 3-and-out, like you forced a punt there, or maybe it's 3-and-out. I can't remember if they picked up a first down or not, but you forced the punt. Then Braylon Staley, of course, muffs the punt, which was the first big question of the game: is why is Braylon Staley in there, returning punts when you've got one of the best punt returners in the nation in Boo Carter, who's now back to playing important snaps for you after everything that went on during the summer. Didn't understand that decision, but regardless of the decision, it puts Mississippi State immediately in Tennessee territory, and they convert quickly. It was kind of like that Vanderbilt game last season when you turned the ball over early and gave them a short field, and they made you pay. And just that start just felt like it threw the vibes off, it threw everything off, and it felt like just a constant uphill battle from there. Like it was just a grind from there, especially in that first half at times. I mean, the defense bailed you out, made some big plays, right? Like that Colton Hood interception, that pick six that just kind of came out of nowhere when Mississippi State was backed up a little bit. That gave you a shot of momentum there and put you on top quickly when you weren't able to move the ball well offensively. It was just there's a lot to talk about throughout the entire game, but there's just such a strange way that game was played. Both teams made mistakes. Both teams made some really dumb mistakes. Mississippi State, I think it was Tennessee's first drive where they scored a touchdown, where Aguilar threw the short touchdown pass to Chris Brazzell. I think Mississippi State gave you 30 yards of penalties of field position on that drive. I mean, just by boneheaded post play mistakes. I mean, unsportsmanlike conduct penalties, hands to the face, just things that are easy to avoid. So neither team played a clean game at all. And I don't. Some games are just like that. I mean, I know that's not really like a. There's no stat for that. There's no way to really frame that outside of just some games are weird like that. And Starkville is the place where games typically get weird like that. So it was very on brand for that game to start out that way, I thought.
I think everybody who is a Tennessee fan saw Braylon Staley muff that punt and went, oh, here we go. Here we go. We're really going to do this, aren't we? And it's kind of like we should have known that this was how it was going to be. There's just something with road games that lean towards evening hours, and Josh Heupel, where this stuff just happens. And a big question that got about it for myself and my own Twitter mentions. I think I tweeted out something that said this is a classic Josh Heupel road trap game. And a lot of people were just saying, this isn't on Heupel. He can't be out there doing whatever to help these players. And there are absolutely moments where you got to hold these guys' feet to the fire. But it also has to be both. It has to be like this. Staley needs to field that punt. But second, why is Staley back fielding punts? Why is he doing that at all? When you, as you said, You have one of the best returners in America in Boot Carter. Right there, just because he has muffed punts, you don't necessarily need to take him out of the game. So you can do both. You can say, yeah, the player has to go out there and execute. Mike Matthews has to catch that touchdown pass.
Mm-hmm.
But at the same time, holistically speaking, why did the defense get gashed? Why wasn't the offense as efficient? Till the deep in the third quarter, you only had 13 offensive points, if I'm thinking correctly. I mean, why did that happen? Why did you look so wholly unprepared for this game? And why does it continue to happen under Josh Heupel? Like, that's a question that I go to where it's like, we're not letting Heupel completely off the hook here. Do these players need to make these plays? 100% they do. That's without a doubt. Because the fact is this, if you play a crisp game, even just a 80% crisp game, you win this game by 2 touchdowns plus. You had it right there for yourself. I mean, your defense scored 14 points. Mike Matthews actually catches that touchdown. Braylon Staley doesn't have his drops. Miles Kitson doesn't have where it bounces off his hands and goes to an interception. You know, cut out those mistakes. Like I said, even just 80% of them. Some of them still happen. You probably win kind of walking away here. So to sort of that question that I made, the YouTube headline, is Tennessee overrated because of what we saw in this game? Not necessarily, because you actually play a clean game here. I don't think that this is that big of a game going into the fourth quarter. I think you would have just basically pulled away or just been holding the ball to run the clock out. But I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong, Zach. What do you think?
Yeah, I'm actually pretty positive on the way this game went. I mean, it was frustrating, but I took away a lot of positives from this game for a couple of reasons. One, you know, we think about that Oklahoma game and the way you won it ugly last year on the road, and we thought that it was smart by Heupel at the time, and we kind of later figured out that was just kind of all the offense had with Nico back there. Just the offense didn't operate the way it was this year. I know 14 of your points came on defense against Mississippi State, but you still made some plays, as Ben mentioned in the comments. I mean, there's a couple touchdowns that, you know, Matthews drops a wide open touchdown. Chris Brazzell has one called back. I mean, the scheme worked. Everything worked. The execution just wasn't there in the Matthews play, and they made a bad call on the pass interference. So things were working for Tennessee. It's just some games, it's hard to explain. Like, some games are just weird like that. Like, each game has its own identity, and it doesn't always go the way that you plan. And this was that game. I mean, Tennessee got hit with some serious adversity, and I think in previous years they definitely lose this game, but I think Mississippi State was motivated. They played well. They came into this game believing they could win. Like, you could see it in the post game. Like, they were shocked they lost that game. It was almost like Tennessee and Georgia, you know, a couple of weeks ago. You're on the other side of that. They played well. They blocked well up front. Like, the running game stuff for Mississippi State, Tennessee was getting gashed. I think it shows you, one, the scheme is hard to defend against, even if you go against it every day, because there's still so much space that you have to defend. And they got the light boxes. They had Tennessee safeties playing deep, so they're out of the equation in the run game. And some of Mississippi State's guys were just winning matchups up front, one-on-one matchups. They were blocking well, and they were winning those matchups. You know, Fluff, the running back from Mississippi State, broke a lot of tackles. I mean, that's execution. That's not scheme when it comes to defense. I know we give Tim Banks hell at times for some of his zone defense calls, and I do think that they need to evaluate some of those scheme things there, because the zone defense is just getting gashed at times for Tennessee. But yeah, it's tough. It's tough to defend this scheme, like I said, even when you go against it every day. But you face that adversity. You stayed in the game. Your defense made some big plays. I mean, the fake punt, when that happened, that could have easily been a backbreaker in that game. You know, if Mississippi State goes down there and scores, it's a totally different game. And then you come up and you make a huge play the very next play on defense. And unlike what Jeff Lebby said after the game, where he kind of lamented the fact that Mississippi State gave Tennessee points, like, they didn't give Tennessee points. Like, they went out and earned those points on defense. Colton Hood made that play on that interception because pressure was generated on Blake Shapen back there at quarterback, and forced that throw before he wanted to throw it. Same thing with the fumble. You know, Tyree West and Joshua Josephs each won their matchups against the left tackle and right tackle, and they were in position to make that play. So just because it had to be the defense making some plays, doesn't make me feel a lot. This isn't just an offense first team. Like, you got to win on both sides of the ball, and there was a lot of things in this game that just didn't go Tennessee's way. Calls, execution, Mississippi State making some plays, so much that didn't go your way, and you're still there at the end of the game with the chance to win it. And that was when the final drive notwithstanding, which I'm sure we'll get into some of that decision making. There's a lot to go over there, but
yeah,
that drive where you tied the game was the absolute best football that the entire team played in that game, and your best players came up and made plays. Chris Brazzell with the fourth down catch that was on his fingertips. I mean, that is a difficult play to make. Mike Matthews with the big gain to get you into Mississippi State territory. Braylon Staley, who had a terrible game before that, making the play on third down, the extra effort to get the first down. You had to throw David Sanders in the middle of that drive because Jesse Perry went down. It was his first game action. He had a false start. Every offensive lineman that's ever played the game is going to have a false start. It was a big moment. It happens. It was a defensive line shift. It was weird. Ethan Davis was out, so you had to put Jack Van Doorslayer in, true freshman tight end, made 2 key blocks on your last 2 scoring plays. Like,
yep.
Your dude showed up and made plays, and that, for me, was the takeaway. Like, with the game was on the line, as bad as everything went, those guys were there, and they made the plays to win the game.
100%. The David Sanders thing was awesome. They had him, they put him in kind of just straight into the fire, and then they have a pull on that very first play. They're just like, all right, get out there, do it, son. And then he did a good job outside of that false start. To the point with the defense, they just played it where Mississippi State couldn't take the top off, and that worked. They didn't really do that almost at all. And so that allowed Mississippi State to run on you. I think this was purposeful because this is probably how Josh Heupel expected this game to go. Do that, stop them from blasting you over the top. Okay, we gave a few rushing yards. That's fine. But we scored enough where we get up by 14 points, and then suddenly Mississippi State has to throw the ball, and we're just going to tee off on these guys. That's what I think Josh Heupel thought was going to happen in this game, and things got off schedule. Like, if you get up by 2 touchdowns in that game, and exactly this, you had a drive. I forget the exact point in the game, but you were up by 3 at the beginning of the second half, if I'm thinking correctly. Beginning of the second half, you're up by 3, and then you could shut the door-ish. Get them down by double digits when you got the ball back up by 3, and you go down and score, and it turns out to be one of the Miles Kitselman interceptions. And you just shot yourself directly in the. If you go up by 10 there, suddenly Mississippi State is going to have to press on offense. And your edge rushers that were dominating them could just tee off at that point. And I don't think we would be saying what we're saying about Banks right now if that ended up being the case. And I think you end up winning by 17 points or something like that. Ultimately, if you could have shut them down in that moment rather than having that massive screw up as you did. And credit to Mississippi State for taking advantage when those screw ups happen. They did a good job capitalizing where you didn't capitalize on their mistakes as much as you should have. And so the game just didn't go how I think they thought it was going to go. And that's okay. You won. Win's a win. It's a W in the win column, whether you win by 1 or by 50. So that's fine. But I listened to some of Tony Basilio's post game, and it was kind of near the beginning. I think Tony said it, but he said Tennessee made Tennessee did enough to lose 5 football games tonight, but Tennessee also did enough to win 1 football game tonight. And I was like, that's a good way to put it. You screwed up in every way you possibly could to hand these boys this football game. And they just they don't have that win edge yet because it's still just so early in Levy's tenure. They just don't have the talent yet. Whatever it is, they're much improved over last year. There's no doubt about that. But they still just don't have what it's going to take to win big time in the SEC. But a very, very, very admirable effort from Mississippi State. You said, I think they were expecting to win this one. We're stunned when they didn't. And frankly, I was stunned when they didn't. I was shocked when Tennessee actually pulled that off. Oh, and yeah, and this multiple are saying it. Rhonda and Mr. Jones in the comments both bring up Max Gilbert. The guy. Stop missing field goals. Stop missing field goals, please. It is quite literally your only job. Yeah, I mean, and that's another thing. That's just another screw up that you can add to that, where just you gave them another piece where they could capitalize.
They missed one
It
too,
was
though.
extremely
They
frustrating,
did.
but you won.
They missed one too.
That's true. They did, and Dave
I
Neal
mean,
said it was good on broadcast. He said it was
yeah,
good like 3 times.
yeah. He was like,
"Ah,
man, he's got a hedge of a leg. The thing was
yeah,
about
good
wide
kick."
right by about 30 yards, but it's tough. It's tough from those angles in the press box if you're not watching the monitor. So I can see how that gaff happens, but
Yeah.
yeah, there was just it and I know I've said it a bunch. It's just a strange game when you go down there and play, and the cowbells, everything's disjointed. Which I think Tennessee only had 2 false starts in that game, so that's an improvement for Tennessee under
Yes.
Heupel. And really, the thing with Heupel is kind of like a side note. I think Adam Sparks from the Knoxville News Sentinel wrote this last week. Like they haven't been as bad on the road as we think. Heupel's second since 21 to Kirby Smart in the SEC and wins on the road against ranked opponents. It's just that the games Tennessee's lost on the road have just been they've been season altering losses. 22 kept you at the playoff in South Carolina, Georgia and South Carolina that year. 23, the Bama game you had won. Missouri game you get blown out and keeps you from 10 wins, and then last year of course the Arkansas and even Georgia last year. I mean, that's just those games stick out, but really across the SEC it's just really hard to go on the road and win in the SEC. It's as hard as ever. All of these atmospheres outside of Vanderbilt are absolutely electric. Even at Kentucky, I mean, no, it's not Neyland, it's not LSU at night, but those are tough places to play, and it's just you see teams constantly go on the road and struggle. So I think I'm to the point now where if you win on the road in the SEC, it's a great win. I don't care who it is or how many points it comes by. The talent is spread out more than it's ever been. The gap between programs, between the top and the bottom in the SEC, just isn't there like it used to be. There are no easy road wins in the SEC at this point. So there's a lot that Tennessee needs to clean up from that game, from coaching, from execution, scheme, a lot. And there were some good things too, though. There were some fun play calls. There was that 1 4th down call where they threw the ball to Star Thomas, that and kind of like that weird condensed formation where they had a little bit of motion and kind of got the look they wanted. I mean, that was a big time play and a big moment. Again, that last drive was one that you think about that 22 season and like the long drive against Kentucky and the long drive against Florida right before halftime. This kind of reminded me of one of those. I mean, you had to have it, and like I said, your biggest playmakers went down there and won the game for you, got the game tied, and got the game in overtime. But you got to take the good from that and just understand, like, you got to be better. Like, you can't, if you're Mike Matthews, you can't drop that pass. If you're Braylon Staley, you can't muff that punt. If you're Miles Kitselman, you can't let 2 balls that maybe weren't perfect throws, but they're right in your hands. Like, you got to make those catches, or at least not tip it up in the air 15 feet so that's easy, for a Mississippi State defender to come down with. It's just those little mistakes are game changers on the road, and they can lose you games on the road. And they lose you games at home, but especially on the road. They're just, the momentum flips. Things can get away from you real quick in some of these rowdy SEC stadiums. But I think it's a win that they can build off of, and that experience of going on the road now that you've had a game like that early in the season. You got to go to Alabama. You've got to go to Florida. You got to go to Kentucky. I mean, these are going to be tough games, and you're going to be more prepared for those games because of this experience.
Yeah, 100%. I actually think going through this fire is really good for this team long term, and especially pulling it out for your confidence is massive. So I'm excited to see them build on this. Obviously, you can tell from our conversation, like the name of the show, I do not think Tennessee is overrated. In fact, I think they're probably underrated when they're playing their absolute best. I think this is a team, they could not just make the playoff, but could win some games in the playoff.
Especially after what you saw from Joey Aguilar, first SEC road game. Dude was calm, so calm and poised throughout that entire thing. Just amazing.
Yes. And his biggest knock is probably he throws a high ball on, a number of throws a game, but that's about all I can knock him on. I mean, he just is composed and poised and makes it that pass on the final drive to tie the game where he's getting tackled at the feet and he gets that ball to Mike Matthews. I mean, what an effort. and it just is. He's completely unfazed by
Yeah.
anything like that. It's truly, it's incredible. I mean, what
He had
a
a
find.
he had a couple of plays like that where they didn't result in like huge gains, where he was getting pressured, but he got rid of the ball and either threw it away or found somebody for like a 3-yard gain or running back or something. Just kept them out of negative plays so well. I mean, that was massive in this game with everything that was going against you to prevent some of those sacks and staying out of some of those negative situations, get behind the chains. I mean, little things like that are how you win games. It's not always the big plays. So the poise you saw from Aguilar made me feel even better about this team moving forward because that is his first, true SEC road game. I mean, that's massive experience for him, and he's only going to grow and get better from that. But going into that for the first time and being that comfortable and that poised, I mean, it's probably been since Hendon Hooker since you've seen that from a quarterback, and even Hooker kind of had some moments on the road. It's going to happen. Like I said, it's very tough, but I feel better about this team. Even though that was an ugly game, the fact that you found a way to win and that you were able to put bad plays behind you made me feel a lot better about this team. But some of the coaching stuff has got to be better. That at the end of regulation could have possibly lost you the game the way that Tennessee played that. And Jeff Lebby didn't do much better. I mean, he put Tennessee in that spot by completely mismanaging Mississippi State's chance to win the drive. And Tennessee's defense made some big plays. I mean, Bryson Easton set the tone of that drive right off the bat by pressuring the quarterback and forcing an incomplete throw and first down. That was huge. And it doesn't go in the box score, but Heupel, I know what he was trying to do and not leave Mississippi State time on the clock, but he just chose the wrong time to do it. Like, you got to wait till you're in field goal range to do that.
There's a lot to unpack there because outside of the time management decisions that I think were horrid, you also have the fact that I don't know if you should tie all of this together. The lay down lineman feels so defiant at this point. He got talked to about it in this game. And then you get calls that screw you over. And I mean, Greg in the comments on Facebook, he says the referees tried to blow this game for Tennessee. I mean, that OPI call on Chris Brazzell was ridiculous.
So was the DPI call on Colton Hood too.
Yes. I mean, both of those things, just some wretched calls from these refs. And I have to just wonder, like you look at basketball, Rick Barnes rides the refs. And then a lot of the times he gets his way because that stuff works. Heupel doesn't seem to do that. And then he does. This was maybe this has happened before. This is the first time I can remember where he's done the lay down lineman after if you don't know, extra point after a quick score. He makes an offensive lineman go down, act like he's injured.
It's the same one every time, just about.
Yeah, it's absolutely ridiculous. I mean, it's been Bennett Warren multiple times now. I will say, credit to Bennett Warren for putting on a beautiful show. I
thought he was going to have to be carted off.
Yes, I mean he was down for the count. He had to be helped off. He goes into the injury tent. I mean, he did the whole thing. So credit to Bennett Warren on that. But the refs came over and I mean, we don't know what they said to him, but I'm sure that they were like, buddy, cut this out. This is ridiculous.
We know. They know.
Yeah. I mean, it is literally expressly made to waste time so that the defense can rest. But I mean, it's even that's just like a marginal 2-3 minutes. I mean, how much time are you really saving there? Like, the whole thing is ridiculous. And then you get screwed on calls and you kind of go, Are these things connected? Heupel doesn't ride the refs because he's just not that vocal, tearing the refs head off kind of guy, and he does this lay down lineman thing. And I don't know if those are connected, but the refs absolutely intervened into this game. I mean, that's another one. That Brazzell OPI doesn't happen, you probably win this game by a couple of scores. So it woulda, coulda, shoulda, but you still won, thankfully.
Yeah, I think I agree about the lay down lineman thing. I think it's time to just get rid of that. I mean, everybody knows what you're doing. Everybody's going to have that same situation come up. Like, it typically only happens after an explosive play on the first play or two of the drive or after a defensive touchdown. Give your defense a few seconds to catch their breath. I mean, it's not rocket science what's happening. Everybody knows what's happening, and the officials, they review these games. They know they know how the team plays before they go call a game. They know if a team's handsy. They know if they jump off sides a bunch. All those things, like, they're aware. They have scouting reports as officials on teams. Like, they know what's up. They know exactly what Heupel's doing with that, and I don't think it's a good reputation thing at this point. I mean, we complain about teams doing this all the time, and I get a team's moving the ball on you, and they're moving at a breakneck speed, and you've got a key part in the game, and you want to slow their momentum down without calling a timeout, and somebody goes down. Like, it's been happening for decades. It just happens a lot more now than it used to, but that's a strategy that's been used for a long time. I'm not gonna lose sleep over a coach doing that to Tennessee, or Tennessee doing it every now and then, but constantly doing it in the same spot with the same player every time is just kind of asking for trouble. Like, be smarter than that. And you might get fined for it. I mean, Syracuse got fined this past week for faking injuries. And, they were doing some of that against Tennessee. Tennessee was doing some of it as well against Syracuse. I mean, it goes both ways, but they're going to start finding teams more and more. And it'd be pretty easy to do it on the Bennett Warren thing. Not to get too caught up in something, an extra point conversation, but it's obvious if you go look at the film, this dude's got hurt after every single extra point. Like, coach him better if he can't get hurt or something. I mean, like, it's so obvious and blatant what you're doing, and it does feel like kind of like a little FU to the refs. Like, you can't stop me. I'm going to do what I want. I'm with you. I don't think that buys you any goodwill with the refs. I know officials try to keep that stuff separate, but that stuff creeps into your head. I mean, it's going to irritate you if you're an official.
Yeah, I mean, you're kind of making a fool out of them and just going like, I'm going to defy your rules by doing this goofy thing. And then on top of that, I mean, we've talked about this in the past where Heupel just doesn't. He's just not that guy that's going to go, this ref sucks. You suck. Fix this. You're terrible. He's not going to do that type of stuff because it's just not who he is. And so you gotta do something. In this type of case, I just don't think that you can have your cake and eat it too, and do that goofy stuff. And I'm surprised that the league hasn't talked to him about it either. I feel like that's maybe they have.
I don't know. I mean, it's to the point where we're on social media, and I can't remember which play it was, but I think it might have been the second one. I was like, man, I hope Bennett Warren's going to be okay after this extra point attempt. And sure enough, there he's laying on the ground, just writhing in pain. And it's like, okay, we know you're acting. I mean, maybe there's an off chance that this randomly happens one time that you're not acting, but 99% of the time, like, we know exactly what's up. So
yeah,
it'll be interesting to see that. You're right, though. That's the first time I've seen an official say something to Heupel after that's happened. Maybe they have before. They just haven't shown it on TV or we haven't seen it. But I'll be interested to see if they keep doing that moving forward.
Yeah, it wouldn't surprise me at all because it is a known thing now. So
the other coaches are complaining about it too.
Oh yeah. I would 100%. I tell Heupel to cut that out. We'll see if he actually does it. But to kind of round out the game, to talk about this game, that final minute, like overtime, great. Hey, you figured it out. Defense made a stand. That was awesome. But that final minute, what are we doing, Josh? What are we doing? Just confounding the decisions that were made in that moment. I just was baffled and just kind of going like, what's the plan here? What are you taking these timeouts to your grave? Like, what is the plan right now?
Yeah.
And it turns out I just don't think Heupel had one.
I think it comes down to two things. I think his plan was obviously to not leave Mississippi State with time in case you weren't able to score. But two, to me, this showed, I'm not going to say a lack of confidence in the offense, but it showed me some nervousness and uncertainty of, like, are they going to be able to move the ball? Can we actually get to the 30-yard line and have a chance to get this field goal? And he wasn't 100% confident that they could. That was the signal I got. So to me, it was like 30 seconds he ran off the clock after that first run play. I mean, you had, a minute something left, and all of a sudden there's 40-some seconds left. A couple plays don't go the way you want them to. All of a sudden you don't even have time to get the ball, one more play to get the ball into field goal range and use one of those timeouts. You got to throw a Hail Mary that didn't work out, didn't even come close. I think it was the right move to not leave Mississippi State with time, because the last thing you want to do is not come through there, kick a field goal, and there's 30 seconds left, and they need 2 passes to get in field goal range and win the game. You definitely don't want that. But at the same time, to me, I mean, it worked out. You went in overtime and won the game, but you've already lost one overtime game this year. You just never know what's going to happen in overtime. But you have a chance. You can control the outcome of this game right now by going and getting yourself in field goal range and hopefully making the field goal. Wait till you're closer to like the 40-yard line before you start running time off. Get the ball close to field goal range. Then you have all kinds of options. You can run the ball. You got timeouts. You don't have to worry about going out of bounds or anything like that. You can throw over the middle. You can kind of manipulate the clock at that point. But if you're way outside of field goal range and then you're only got 15 seconds to go, and now you need a really good play. You need a really good play over the middle to even get in field goal range, and they weren't able to do it. Luckily, you won the game, but I don't care what Heupel says, what explanation he has. I will never agree with the way he managed the end of that game. I know it worked out because you won in overtime, but what if it didn't work out? What if Mississippi State, that 4th down pass, they score and they get to 2-point conversion and you lose? I mean, that's because I think they would have went for 2 if they score there just to end the game. But I don't know. I think that's something Heupel's got to look at, because you got to be better in that situation. But at the same time, if you watch college football, if you watch even NFL, there's a lot of coaches that mismanage the end of game situations like that. I mean, it is constant, and it is a much different thing. Doing it on your couch where you can see the clock, you can see the timeouts, you can see the yardage. It's a lot easier to sit on your couch and be like, do this, do that. This is what you need to do. This is when you need to call timeout. Moves a little faster when you're in the sidelines. So I do understand it's not as easy as it looks, but you got to improve there. I mean, good teams improve in those areas. There are teams that do it really well, and Tennessee didn't in that game.
Bottom line is just cut it out. Just stop the lay down linemen, and don't make time management mistakes like that again, please. And we're all good.
It's so funny because the end of that Alabama game in 22, you won the game because of how excellent you were in that situation with 2 timeouts and 17 seconds, or not much time at all there to work, and needing to move the ball a long way to get in the field goal range. You were awesome, amazing in that. That's why you won that game. So it's in there. They just didn't handle it right in this instance.
Yeah, that's what has been so hard to swallow about the end of the Georgia game with the Gilbert field goal and the false start and everything. And then this here is just, we've seen Heupel handle these situations well. Why are the wheels coming off all of a sudden in these certain situations? But just improve, onward and upward from here. And hey, you won the game. You figured out a way to win it in overtime. That's all that matters. Is just the W in the win column. Now your season isn't derailed, because as we've already said, make no mistake, this thing would have it wouldn't have ended your season. Obviously, you could win out, but you'd have to win out. That was gonna be how you would have to do it if you lost that game at Mississippi State. Now you don't. Give yourself a little bit of leeway. And man, oh man, you are a Max Gilbert made field goal away from being what? Number 2 in America right now, probably. Because
maybe
top 3, I gotta think. And I mean, man, you're that close. But don't cry over spilled milk. What's in the past is in the past. So from here, bye week, and thankfully in the bye week we don't have to hear from Josh Heupel on Mondays. No offense to Josh Heupel. It's not even useless information that he gives. He just says nothing. He doesn't give information at all.
No, he does speak Wednesday this week.
Okay, so he's still on Wednesday. But he gives us 2 days of reprieve from him saying a ton, but giving zero information at all.
And that goes to what Jeff is asking about Jordan Thomas and injuries. Heupel's never going to give us much on injuries, but I haven't heard anything lately about Jordan Thomas. I know that Brent Hubbs, before the season, right before the season, said he did not expect Jordan Thomas to play at all this season. Apparently, the injury he suffered was a little more complex than just a torn ACL. There was some stuff that went on hasn't really been detailed. I think that's Jordan Thomas's story to tell, and if that ever comes out, it will. But I don't think I would anticipate him being back this season. But you never know because they are so guarded and secretive about these injuries. I think Jermod McCoy is your best hope, though, getting help in that secondary, and maybe we see him against Arkansas. I have no idea. I mean, that we're hopeful that we will. And October 11th, when Tennessee hosts Arkansas and Bobby Petrino comes back to Neyland, but I think that's your best hope getting secondary help is McCoy coming back. Just Gibson at corner, and then Jordan Thomas there. I don't know if we're going to see them this year.
I mean, some rumblings that Jermon McCoy, Arkansas, Alabama, maybe could make it back around, but he's still. I mean, he hasn't fully practiced yet. It seems far fetched, even in 2 weeks, unless he starts practice today.
And I think they're pretty limited in their practice times this week. They're not practicing like a normal week. They had a lot of off days, so I don't know if they would really bring him back this week. We'll see. I mean, I don't know. I think it's possible, but I would lean towards him not playing against Arkansas, but it would be really nice to get him back for that game. And then you've got him kind of full go going into Alabama where you're really going to need him and, where he matched up against Ryan Williams for you last season and really made an impact in that game.
Man, it would be so big if he could get back. So big. And that kind of brings us to the discussion to round down the show here. Arkansas coming up. We can do kind of a soft preview here. I already said it a couple of weeks ago after Tennessee gave Georgia such a great game, and we kind of did a re-prediction of the season for Tennessee. But I just think Tennessee's going to run them off the field. I think it's a revenge spot for last year, and I think they stink. So to me, we'll obviously do our full prediction next week at this time. But that just feels like a nice win for Tennessee and a good home game to go to if you want to see Tennessee win. But beyond that, how are you feeling about the rest of the season, Zach? You don't have to win out. Thank God you didn't blow it here. But still, Tuscaloosa, Gainesville, Lexington. How are we feeling?
Yeah, I wrote an article yesterday. I touched on this already in the show that I feel much better about this team being a championship contender after this Mississippi State game, just because of the way you were able to pull out a win. I've already highlighted the fact that your best players showed up. The players that you had all these questions on going into the season showed up and won you a key SEC road game. I thought that told me more than the nonsense that happened the first 3 quarters and the mistakes. Like, it happened. So I feel really good about this team moving forward. But also in that article I mentioned, like, there's going to be championship caliber teams that lose games this season that they're not supposed to lose. I think that's going to happen as much as ever this season, just because of the talent. And I don't know if Tennessee's going to be on the wrong side of one of those or not. I mean, they were almost on the wrong side of one against Mississippi State. Like, a couple plays don't go your way in some of these games, and you end up taking a loss. I don't think Tennessee's above that. I don't think anybody in the country is above a game like that. I just don't. I think anybody is capable of losing to almost anybody, within the Power 4 range, especially in the Big Ten and the SEC. So it's scary kind of for the rest of the season because, I mean, Tennessee can win every game left on their schedule. I think they can go to Alabama and beat Alabama. I'm not – we know how the media is. They love them some Alabama.
Oh,
they lost to Florida State team that I don't think is that good. Florida State lost to Virginia, and it was a fun game, thrilling game. Thank goodness Square White's okay and didn't get trampled in that crazy field rush. He was the wide receiver there in the end zone when all that happened. But to me, Alabama to Georgia is like Michigan to Ohio State at this point.
Right.
It is in their head. And Michigan wasn't good last season. They weren't good at all, and they beat the national champs. I mean, what did that game tell us then? It just told us that Michigan's in Ohio State's head. It didn't tell us anything about how good Ohio State is. It didn't tell us anything about how good Michigan is. And I'm kind of treating that Alabama-Georgia game the same way. I think Georgia's still going to be a good team. They're not as dominant as they have been. I think Alabama has talent, and they got up for that game, and they're ready for it, and I think they'll still win some games. But I tweeted this, and there was a bunch of Alabama fans that jumped in the mentions, and we'll revisit it in December and see if I was right or wrong. But I think Alabama's going to drop another game or two this season that they shouldn't lose, just like they did last season. And I think Tennessee could easily do the same thing, or they could win out. Like it's that crazy in college sports right now, and that seems like a bit of a cop out because you're not really committing to anything with this team the rest of the season. But I don't know. That's the state of the sport. I mean, it's a week by week thing, and you just never really know playing these SEC games.
I'm pretty much right there with you. I agree on most every point there. I think that you are set for a special season if you can keep everything aligned, harness Joey, and you have the team here to do something awesome. Because Alabama won at Georgia. You nearly beat Georgia. You did beat Georgia. Max Gilbert can kick worth a crap, and so you're right there with Alabama, and just go. I'll say this: have Tim Banks not have the defense play in man all game, and maybe you don't get thrown all over especially by Georgia. If you get to replay them maybe in the SEC championship game or something, but maybe in that Alabama game, you can change your fortunes there. Hello, somebody. There's things that you can do. I'm not an all-out believer after Alabama beats Georgia, just that Alabama's now God's gift of football and they're back and the dynasty's back and holy cow.
No, it's not the same. It's not the same Alabama. It's not Nick Saban's Alabama. They're still good. They have good team. They have good players. I think Kalen DeBoer's a good coach. I think he's a weird fit down there. We'll see how that whole thing turns out. But no, I'm not sold on them as a world beater at this point. But I'm not really sold on anybody at this point, to be honest.
No.
I mean, Oregon's good. Ohio State's good, I'm sure. But how good? How good are they? I mean, Oregon beat Penn State. Penn State's beat 0 Power 4 teams this season. I mean, we just don't know how good some of these teams are. We're just assuming. And a lot of these teams will get better as the season goes on. It's what Josh Heupel loves to say. Like, good teams get better as the season progresses, and we'll see which teams get better as this season progresses. But you really just got to take it 1 week at a time, and you got to focus on Arkansas. And I think that could be a challenging prep because they Bobby Petrino fired their defensive coordinator today, the one that you played against last season, and you hire the assistant defensive line coach, who Josh Heupel knows well, Chris Wilson. They were on staff together at Oklahoma for about 5 seasons back in the 2000s. So there's a little bit of familiarity there, but you don't know what they're going to come out with defensively. You don't know if they're going to change some things up offensively. So that could be a challenging prep, even though you're better than them. You may not know exactly what to expect from them coming out of, 2 weeks or a week off and coming out of the bye with basically a whole new coaching staff just about.
There could definitely be goofiness because of the total changeover of that coaching staff there, but their defense is horrific. Their offense is okay. But yeah, it's a Neyland. Like, if you lose that game, there's no excuse.
That would be a brutal win to lose, especially after what Notre Dame did to them. And I think Tennessee will be fine, but you've still got to treat this game like it's, top game in the country, top team in the country, whatever you want to say. Like, you've got to treat this game with that same respect.
Yes, you definitely have to treat it with respect. But we'll give that full preview next week on this exact show. Anything else for the folks at home before we get out of here, Zach?
No, I'm just glad that this is a 4-1 talk. And how crazy is it? It's not even October yet, and Tennessee's almost played 50% of their regular season schedule. They've played 5 games. It's wild how quick it goes, but just glad that Tennessee got that win. That's the first time you've won in Starkville since 2007, which you don't play there a lot. You haven't had many opportunities, but it's just another one of those that Heupel can mark off the list of like, hey, this hasn't been done in over 15 years. And since he's come to Tennessee in 21, I know we tend to focus on some of the road struggles and the bad losses, but there's just been a lot of great moments that we just totally missed out on from 2008 to 2020, basically. Like winning in Baton Rouge and beating Alabama and Florida multiple times. Like, it's not just a fluke win at this point. And some of the things that Heupel's done, I think we kind of lose sight of, that this stuff didn't used to be routine, You go down there in 2012 with a really good offense and get beat by Mississippi State and Dan Mullen, and games like that, you just used to expect to win, and then it almost got to the point where you expected to lose them, like unfortunately. So it's nice that Tennessee can be on the right side of these more often than not. It seems like these days.
I cannot imagine, and I'm a fire this clown coach guy.
I think you were hoping that coach would be fired today, right?
Oh,
Over there in Nashville.
The fact that Brian Callahan is still employed by the Tennessee Titans is unbelievable. What a clown organization.
I mean, I don't think he will be for long, but I mean, my New York Mets here missed the playoffs with a inexplicable collapse over the last 2 months. I was hoping their manager would get fired today too, but neither one of us got our wishes.
I mean, I'm a fire the coach type of guy, but I mean, Josh Heupel right now, is his ceiling potentially a 10-win season? Maybe. We'll find that out over the course of time. But as of right now, I don't know. I know that he has a team that if it plays at the top end of its ability could make it to the playoff and win a couple games. And so maybe that's not his ceiling. We'll find out. So any kind of like he screwed up the final minute, fire this guy sort of talk. What drugs do you want? I cannot get on board there.
I will say one thing before we go. I think we can talk about this now that we're 5 games into the season and this team's kind of forming its identity and we know some more information about this team. All offseason, we questioned the offensive line, quarterback, of course. That was out of Tennessee's hands. The wide receivers and the corners to an extent because of injuries. I mean, I guess Heupel was right for the way he approached the wide receivers deal. Because these 3, Staley, Matthews, and Brazel, they haven't been perfect.
Yeah.
But they've played well. Matthews had over 100 yards in that game against Mississippi State. Brazel's the best wide receiver in the country just about so far. I mean, it's crazy what he's been able to do. And he looks like a different player. He looks like a dog out there. Like every ball that comes his way, he's going to catch. Like the one catch he made, we had to adjust his body when the ball was kind of thrown to the sideline. It looked like maybe he was going to go outside and that ball was thrown and he had to completely contort his body and somehow caught that ball. And that was a ridiculous play. So you got credit Heupel, I think, for making the right move with the wide receivers, giving these guys a chance. And this staff's evaluation of transfer corners, Jermod McCoy and Colton Hood. I mean, Colton Hood's like getting first-round draft pick. He's hype. I mean, he's allowed, I think it was 7 receptions for 50-some yards this entire season. And that guy came in the spring window from Colorado, where he was paired with Deion Sanders, who's like one of the greatest cornerbacks to ever walk the planet. And he was like, I'm leaving that guy and going and joining Tennessee. So to go get that guy and to nail that evaluation, the Jermod McCoy evaluation from Oregon State. I mean, this staff, every staff's going to have misses, but they've done a really good job with some of the talent that they brought in. Even through the portal, even taking a conservative approach to the portal. Lance Hurd's another one. He's playing extremely well this season now that he's healthy. Credit to the staff, for nailing some of those evaluations and filling some holes and using the portal the right way.
Couldn't agree more. We're not firing Heupel on this show. No. Don't come around here with that. Charlie Burris, Zach Reagan. I think that's the show. Thank you to everybody who tuned in, who commented, and who comes and hangs out with us during the show. We could not do this without you. We'll be back next week for Arkansas. We'll preview that and talk about anything that happened during the bye week, which is hopefully nothing at all. But if something does happen, we'll be here. We appreciate y'all for watching, and we will talk to y'all next week.
See you guys later.